is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 6.8. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Shot clock at 8. Buddy Hield out of the corner. High arcing three. Buddy's three has made it on the road trip. Buddy buckets his back. 4 of 8 on threes now. Buddy Hield thought about clock. He got LaMelo to reach, laid it up and in, and the continuation. Bro, he hit him with the hezzy. He froze LaMelo ball. Sub-zero.
Yeah, big night for Buddy Hield. Some key buckets, especially in the second half, as he ends up with 22 points to lead the Warriors. It was not pretty for the Dubs tonight in Charlotte, but they do find a way to get the win, and they win relatively comfortably. Final score of 119-101 when it's all said and done. But this was a 3-point game late in the third quarter with Stephen Curry heading to the Warriors bench. And what would it be in terms of the non-Steph minutes? But the non-Steph minutes, Warriors a plus 13 in those from that 3-point lead. Huge end of the third quarter for the Dubs, and they enable themselves to prevail at Charlotte by 18. They also outscore the Hornets 33-24 in the fourth, in addition to holding their own down the stretch there at the end of the third quarter. So we welcome you in. It's Dubs OT with JD here on KNBR, the sports leader. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line open at that number. The phone lines are open at that number as well. If you want to react to the Warriors, who are now 6th officially in the Western Conference playoff race, the Warriors at the close of business tonight would be a playoff team in the NBA. And when is the last time we could have said that? I think you got to go all the way back to November. Now, the job certainly not done. There is a glut right now of teams that all believe that they have a shot at getting to 6. The Clippers, Timberwolves, Kings, and Mavs among them, all right there on the Warriors' heels. A couple of those teams that I just mentioned playing each other tonight. And so we'll keep everybody updated on what's going on in Dallas. Sacramento continuing to surprisingly play well. Now, even without Domantas Sabonis, they've got a big lead at Dallas tonight after winning in Houston. So the Kings doing their thing, but the Warriors able to do their thing in this one in Charlotte tonight. First of the back-to-back and the second of this 5-game road trip for Golden State. So they're 2-1 with 2 games to go. They'll head for New York. Knicks tomorrow, Brooklyn Nets on Thursday, and the Warriors now 8-1 in games that Jimmy Butler has played in, and the Warriors win it tonight by that 119-101 final in Charlotte. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch as well. We've got Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios. Good to see everyone filing in, a lot of the regulars here as we expand our Dubs OT coverage all the way till 9 o'clock tonight, but a little bit of a later start with that game going final a little bit after 6:30, giving way to Niners Nightly and Larry Krueger there. Some initial thoughts just on this game. Warriors off to a 10-4 lead in this one, despite not shooting well in the early going. The Warriors really didn't have the 3-ball going until third quarter, midpoint of, and in the fourth quarter when they put the game away. But the Warriors tonight won the game because, well, one, Charlotte just can't score. That's the first and foremost, I think, most important thing. Like, Charlotte is a relatively easy team to defend, but the Warriors were competing defensively really from the start tonight, and there's some numbers that back that up. It was a Steph Curry on the floor game versus Steph Curry off the floor game, at least until that end of the third quarter stretch, which basically won the Warriors the game there. They were a plus 12 with Steph on the court, 24-12 lead in that first stretch for him. But the Warriors, 3 for 13 from 3 in the first quarter. Buddy Hield winds up being one of the heroes for the Warriors tonight. He had an awful shift in the first quarter to close things. And the other big overarching takeaway for me as we get this show going here, it's the difference between what we saw tonight and the Warriors' ability to grind one out and still win comfortably. And look, Charlotte is not nearly as talented as the squad that Philadelphia put out there the other night in Philly. Still had a Tyrese Maxey, still had a Paul George, still had some other, like Charlotte doesn't have any of those guys. Yeah, they had Miles Bridges go for 35 and they have LaMelo Ball. But the difference between Jimmy Butler being available to play, and I don't know what percentage Jimmy Butler was at, and we can go ahead and bring in our friend Kyle Haar here early in our San Francisco studios, because I'll give you my answer. I also wanted to get Kyle's answer to this. I mean, what percentage would you say Jimmy Butler was physically in this one tonight? I mean, he really, 70%, 75%, 60%, whatever it was, like he looked better, I thought, than he did at times in the Orlando game physically before he missed the game against Philadelphia on Saturday. But my big takeaway, Kyle, from tonight above everything else, and we'll get into all the heroes and everything else, is Jimmy Butler playing even at 65 to 70% is still a hell of a lot better for this Warriors team than Jimmy Butler not playing at all, even against two bad and now tanking teams.
Yeah, I thought he was somewhere in the range of 70 to 80%. But, I mean, even at that point, you saw the open looks that Pods and Buddy Hield were getting just because he was on the court and drawing so much attention. Yeah, I don't think he was – I thought he was better today than he was against Orlando. Even made a three. How about that?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler made a three. I thought key stretch in the game, which we'll get to in that third quarter, where the Warriors saw their lead cut all the way down to 2, and just the game was kind of hanging in the balance. Not enough offense for the Warriors. Kerr's picking up a tech. He went in on the officials post-game. I'm sure we'll have it in Sounds of Dubs OT between now and 9 o'clock on the frustration over wanting traveling to be called, one of Steve Kerr's all-time pet peeves. But the Warriors defense kept them alive and ahead. They pushed the lead back up to 11, and then the Hornets had the 7-point possession as Draymond got tangled up, got a flagrant foul. LaMelo Ball hit a couple of threes on that possession, and the Warriors were in big trouble. It was 75-72 at that point, and then they go on an 8-0 run. Jimmy Butler with a couple of free throws, and I thought that was critical. Then Buddy Hield with back-to-back threes, and then Butler with a three. That stretch, I think, probably won the Warriors the game. They were in danger of losing that third quarter. They lost the Steph portion of the third quarter, even though you look up at the end of the night, and Steph was as good as could be, ends up plus 13. But that stretch there for the Warriors, I think, won them the game, and it was Jimmy Butler being able to just get to the free throw line, hit a couple of free throws. Buddy Hield came up big after being pretty bad in his first half stints, and then the Warriors able in the fourth quarter to get Brandon Pajemski going. It was Pajemski and Buddy with the big buckets. The Warriors played a little zone defense in that quarter and pushed the lead all the way up to 19, which would be the largest lead. But the plus 13 stretch with Curry out won them the game. And it was Jimmy Butler obviously out there in that stretch where Steph and Curry sitting out, but it was Buddy Hield and Brandon Pajemski. And Hield typically had not been a part of that group, but because he hit a couple of threes there at the end of the third quarter, Steve Kerr stuck with him at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and it was less of a Moses Moody game. Moody with only 5 points and 1 for 6. He struggled now, I think, the last couple of games, but they got the 3-point shooting that they needed in that second half from Buddy Hield, who ended up making 5 for the night, and Brandon Pajemski, who started off cold, but ended up making 4 of 11. And Pajemski was kind of doing it all. 19 points, 11 rebounds for Brandon Pajemski. You look up into the night, and on a night where the Warriors really were struggling to find their offense, they have 5 in double figures. They've got 2 20-plus, with Steph ending up with 21 and 10 assists. And Steph was just controlling the game, kind of going back to the first half. I mean, there were injury scares galore in this game for the Warriors. I mean, just this at different points felt like it might be disastrous for the Warriors, especially in that second quarter. They were up 7. The Hornets cut it quickly. The Warriors were kind of settling for some 3-point shots, even though the 3-point shots at that point were not going down. Again, they end up making 18 for the game. And the Hornets were really not guarding Draymond. They weren't guarding Peyton. Peyton took advantage for some layups at different points in the game. But the Hornets hung in because they won the non-Curry minutes 19-11 in the first half. But you look at the end of the first half, Curry tweaks an ankle, landing on Smith's foot. He would controlling things, as we were just talking about. Pajemski then ends up injured. And you're wondering what the heck's going to, go on there. Pajemski had to come out, early in the third quarter, limping, asked out of the game. So you had that injury scare in the third quarter. You had the Jimmy Butler definitely doesn't look 100% moment. That really struck me, I thought, throughout the game, but in particular in the first half and in the second quarter. But again, his ability to just be out there is important, as we witnessed on Saturday when he was unable to be out there at all. And the story of the first half, really, for the Warriors, not hitting the 3 ball in the first half, 8 for 28. They were doing enough from 2-point range to be able to have that 9-point lead at 58-49 going in at the half. But then they got the 3 ball going in the second half. 8 of 28 for the Warriors in the first half from 3. You look up into the night, they go 10 for 22 in the second half from 3. And a lot of that, Brandon Pajemski, a lot of that, Buddy Hield, and the Warriors able to prevail. So you look up and they go to New York, a couple of games coming up against the Knicks and the Nets, and then the 7-game homestand for the Warriors. But at the close of business tonight, Golden State going to be 6th in the Western Conference, 33-28. They move in front of the Clippers by a half game. Clippers lost a couple of games to the Lakers over the weekend. Lakers all the way up to 2nd, by the way, in the Western Conference. Minnesota hasn't been beating anybody, but they got a win last night in Phoenix as the Suns continue to absolutely plummet. And Minnesota 33-29, so a half game back, as are the Clippers. Clippers, of course, have the tiebreaker over the Warriors. They will win the season series, already have, by taking the first 3 games. Those 2 teams play the final game of the regular season on April the 13th against each other at Chase Center. And the Warriors do have a 1-game lead in the loss column, and the Warriors do have the tiebreaker in terms of the season series over Minnesota. So good news, bad news situation as it relates to the Clippers and Timberwolves. And then the Kings are the surprise team. They are blowing out now Dallas in Dallas. They're going to beat Dallas for a 3rd time here, and they beat the Rockets 3 times. We were talking about this on Saturday. Kyrie Irving went down with the Kings already up in that game early and clicking. But you look up now, the Kings are up 30 in Dallas. Kyrie went out with a knee sprain, and so the Mavs just don't have anybody. PJ Washington's out. Obviously, Anthony Davis is already out. And some schedule good fortune for Sacramento, although they're playing without Domantas Sabonis, who went down in Houston, and he's going to be out for at least the next week and a half. But the Kings are going to find themselves right back into the night in 8th and right back among the teams on the Warriors' heels. We talked about the schedule for them. Dallas is in prime position to basically be playing, for 10th now if Kyrie's going to miss some time. And but the Warriors finding a way to, and we'll see. Tomorrow's obviously going to be a very difficult game for them. Knicks are 40-20. We'll see who plays. I know Steve Kerr did say pregame that there are no plans at this point for the Warriors to rest anybody, but that was before Steph Curry rolled his ankle and Jimmy Butler looked far less than 100%. And, Gary Payton II got hit in the nose, which is something obviously to be monitored here. So you look up and the Warriors may not have a full slate. A cut on his nose is the official word. So that's good. As opposed to the potential. I know there was some bleeding in play. You could see even on the telecast there, but you wonder, is that a broken nose? It sounds like it's more of a cut. And so GP2 telling reporters on hand in Charlotte that he hopes to be able to play tomorrow in New York. And so you would think that the Warriors, as long as things go according to plan, that they would be in position to have everybody and you take your shot at the Knicks. But for the time being, the game that you really obviously have to get if you're the Warriors is the game in Brooklyn, and then you're able to come home and you see how things shake out. So Jimmy Butler back, and again, the difference between no Jimmy Butler and Jimmy Butler at, say, 75 to 80%, I think on full display for the Warriors in this one tonight. And, it felt shaky, but I got to be honest, it never really felt like, oh, they're going to lose this game. And to me, I don't know what it just the calming presence, the overall talent. And again, Charlotte's not even, they don't have anything compared to what Philly even had on Saturday. And that's even without Embiid and everybody else going. But I just, tonight just had a very different feel. Tonight felt like, the Warriors can be not great, and they weren't in stretches of this game and didn't hit the three ball until the second half. But it felt like tonight they were going to figure out a way to win it. I'll also say this, an 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The other thought from tonight, and we mentioned this on Just Dubs Saturday in the morning, it's how fragile it truly is. Because you go through the second quarter with the Curry ankle tweak, and then Jimmy Butler not looking right, and then GP2 ends up getting knocked out of the game with what proves to be that cut, and Podziemski's got to go to the locker room. It looks like he's got some kind of knee issue. And, 4 different little injury scares that it looks like wound up being nothing now that it's all said and done. But it's just a reminder as the Warriors end up now moving into 6th, at least for the night. It's just a reminder that this thing is extremely fragile. And it all really, truly is, 1 or 2 guys go down for a week or for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden the Warriors are basically playing for play-in positioning again. And it also, I think, exemplifies how important every single one of these games are when Steph and Jimmy Butler together are able to play. The Warriors have to win as many of those games as possible, because the reality is, and the Warriors now, 21 to go, but the reality is there are going to be a couple of those games probably where Steph is out or Jimmy is out, or, you hope certainly if you're a Warrior fan that it's not both of them, but you're going to have to figure out a way to survive it. And while the Warriors do have one of the easier schedules in the NBA remaining, they still have the Knicks a couple of times and Denver a couple of times and the Lakers and Milwaukee. There are some difficult games ahead for the Warriors. It still may be easy by comparison to the rest of the league. And I'll allow the people who calculate that out and say the Warriors have one of the easiest, if not the easiest, remaining schedules like that. You had Charlotte still on that schedule. That's gone. All of those different things. But you got to win as many of these games as you can like tonight, and you got to win, I think, as many games as you have an opportunity to when you play well, when Steph and Jimmy Butler are playing. Because I think we're seeing league-wide with what's going on with Dallas and, some of these other teams that, you lose somebody for a week or two and it all of a sudden you think you're going to be 6th and you're 10th. And I think it's really, come into play for every one of these teams at different points that find themselves in this race. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Let's get JT in Oakland up here on Dubs OT on the Sports Leader. Hey, JT.
Hey, man, how you doing? Yeah, they did look shaky. That worries me. I really think they should have had that Philadelphia game. That's a game they should have won with or without Jimmy Butler. But, what's great about him, man, is that he still impacts the game, even at 70%. He's such a underrated passer, which I never really saw on these other teams, and it's just off-ball defense. He's just in the right spot. And when you have basketball IQs with him and Draymond, both who have just highest basketball IQs, he still impacts the game. We haven't seen Jimmy Buckets yet. We haven't even seen Jimmy Buckets yet.
No, we haven't. I mean, he's hit 2 threes in the 9 games, and his 3-point shot looks flat as ever. He's not really looking to score. He took 7 shots tonight, but you're right. He definitely impacts the game, and there's something to be said for all of the discussion about point of attack defense and the fact that the Warriors were losing point of attack defense, obviously with Wiggins going and Jimmy Butler coming in. But what you've got now is 2 of the great help defenders in the league in Draymond and Jimmy Butler. And so when those 2 are on the court together, or even one of them's on the court, they just control everything. They're just they just kind of you feel better about everybody else being in the right position to make the right play. And yeah, as far as the passing goes, I think I've said this a couple of times, JT. I think because of the way Miami played, and because they were so dependent on him to be the guy night in and night out, that he wound up having to take a lot of bad shots, carry a lot of the offensive load. And even though they ran a similar system to the Warriors, it never really looked that way. It always just kind of looked like he was trying to do it all and be the guy who scored, and never really had the true ability and the freedom to just pass the ball and cut and do all those things, because they really couldn't function if he wasn't a guy that was scoring, because he had to kind of be the Steph Curry, in terms of scoring, doing it in a different way for that Heat team. But yeah, it fits right in this Warrior system, and it's allowed for others to get good looks and be more relaxed. And I think we've seen that with Moody up until the last couple of games. I think tonight you saw it with Podziemski, who didn't get off to a good start, but finished the game strong. And Buddy Hield, who was probably as bad as he's been in that first little 5-minute stretch in the first quarter, but winds up being one of the more impactful players for the Warriors on the night when it's all said and done.
Definitely. Agreed, man. Great show.
Thanks, JT. Appreciate it. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. JT's line open for you. Let's go ahead and take our first time out here. 808 KNBR. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. We'll get our first check-in with Kyle's Clicks in the YouTube chat. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch. We'll get to the YouTube chat thoughts of the night here as the Warriors move into 6th in the Western Conference. They beat the Hornets 119-101. They're 33-28, and they are 8-1 now in games that Jimmy Butler has played in. We'll continue to discuss coming up here until 9 o'clock. It's John Dickinson. It's Dubs OT on the Sports League.
Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps rolling. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Jamski back out to Draymond. Buddy Hield hit 2 threes in a row. Draymond trying to set him up again. Butler over Nurkic. Jimmy Butler! Only his second made 3 in a Warrior uniform, but it comes at a good time.
Yeah, that 3 came at a huge time for the Warriors down the stretch into the third quarter. Wild third quarter. Warriors started the quarter up 9. They finished the quarter up 9. And I think that plus the first couple of minutes there of the fourth quarter won the Warriors the game tonight. It's Dubs OT with JD, John Dickinson here on KNBR, the sports leader. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. To give us a call or shoot us a text. Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios. We'll check in with our first edition of Kyle's Clicks here in just a moment. But, yeah, the third quarter, 28-28 is what it wound up. And a couple of injury scares there with Jimmy Butler wincing at his midsection about 3 minutes in. And then Brandon Pajemski ends up asking out of the game, landed wrong on a drive, then stayed in for a play, and then had to come out. And middle of the quarter, it's a 6-point game. And Charlotte in the midst of, it was a 10-0, 12-2 run to cut it to 2. And Steve Kerr's picking up a tech, but the Warriors able to push it back up from 2 to 11. They are able to withstand the 7-point possession to send it back to a 3-point game. And the end of the third quarter, Jimmy Butler, the 3 that we played there, coming back courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area, coupled with a couple of free throws and 2 Buddy Hield threes, back-to-back threes, evening that quarter. If the Warriors are only up 2 or only up 4 going to the fourth quarter, I think the fourth quarter could have had an entirely different feel and vibe to it. Warriors still played their main guys enough. Jimmy Butler, 31 minutes, Steph, 30, Draymond, 28. I think the hope was that maybe you could get that lead up and then rest some of those guys a little bit in the fourth quarter because of the back-to-back. And you want to be able to have a true ability to have a shot at beating the Knicks tomorrow at Madison Square Garden, second of the back-to-back in the nationally televised TNT game. We'll see if how tonight's game played out winds up changing course for the Warriors as to what they do tomorrow in terms of resting the regulars, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like the Warriors, I know Steve had said pregame that Steph's in a good place, and we'll see how everybody come out of this game. But the ability to not lose that third quarter outright, I think was pretty huge. And then that being said, though, even though the Warriors comfortably win in the fourth quarter, they still it wasn't comfortable enough to where Steph and Draymond and Jimmy Butler just took the last 6, 7, 8 minutes off. They got them back in there to make sure that it really, truly didn't get dicey. I think a byproduct of the fact that they lost the game in Philadelphia, and knowing that you could go into New York tomorrow and have everybody play and have everybody play well, and you could still lose the game. Even if you have everybody play and play well, means that you have to make sure that when you have the lead, as the Warriors did in a game that they never trailed, by the way. Did it feel like the Warriors never trailed in this game tonight, Kyle? It really didn't. I just noticed that it was tied one time. There were 0 lead changes for the Warriors, and they wind up winning it 119-101. 808 KNBR. Let's get a couple on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line, and then we will dive into the YouTube chat here with our first installment of Kyle's Clicks here. We're going to be with you until 9 o'clock on the Sports Leader, and then back tomorrow after the Warriors and the Knicks go final from Madison Square Garden. 408 on the text line. The Warriors living or dying based on Buddy Hield being able to hit shots or not is concerning. May be the case tonight, but I think you can get away with it. You can get away with it once in a while. You just don't want to be dependent on it every single night. And look, the Warriors, the numbers are great when Buddy Hield is able to score. What is it when he's got 18? They're 12-1. When he goes for 20, and this was the ninth 20-point game. When he goes for 20, the Warriors are unbeaten. 10-0 in games where he's got, I guess, 19 or more now. But yeah, so he goes for 20. They're 9-0 in the games where he goes for 20 on the season. So yeah, you're still able to win some other games. And land of the Hella, it's a wild stat. Yeah, 12-1 when Buddy scores over 18. But I mean, it just goes to show. I mean, this team still nightly, as much as Jimmy Butler is the 1A, they still nightly don't totally know where they're going to get the secondary scoring from. Jimmy was giving it to him initially, but really where Jimmy was giving it to him was that his insertion onto the team was allowing others to get it more comfortably. All of a sudden, Pajemski's getting it. All of a sudden, Moses Moody's getting it. And there were fewer 6 and 8 and 9 point outputs, and there were a few more 15s and 18s and some 20s. And Quentin Post is having games where he's knocking down shots. So you were getting a little bit more from everybody because of Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler also, what was the note? I don't have it in front of me here, but Jimmy Butler was the fastest Warrior to score 100 in like 5 games or whatever. So he was still those first 5-6 games getting 20 a night, even though it was a very quiet 20 a night. But I think the biggest impact, as JT mentioned on the phone line, is just how much of a passer and facilitator. But we knew that. I mean, Jimmy Butler's a playmaker. That was the biggest thing that the Warriors needed, was an alpha playmaker that could also score. And I think whether it's conditioning or overall health, whatever it is for Jimmy Butler, the fact that it's the regular season and not the playoffs yet, I don't know what it is, but Jimmy Butler really, we have not seen, even though there have been games where he has scored 20 plus, we have really not seen the Jimmy Butler that looks to take over a game and score in any of these games. Like there have been some games where he's had double-digit free throw attempts and double-digit free throw makes, and those have been his highest scoring games. But we have not seen the dominant. We really haven't. I don't think we've seen a Jimmy Buckets game. Like it's been we've seen some Jimmy free throws games, but not really the Jimmy Buckets game there. But I don't know. I don't feel like the Warriors on a night in, night out basis are living and dying based on Buddy Hield. I think some nights it might feel that way, but especially when Kuminga comes back, and we do want to get into that as well. The fact that this thing is continued to be delayed, and it sounds like he's not going to be available to play tomorrow in New York either. The Warriors may be looking to bring him back at home. Also, the observation from Anthony Slater after the game in Philadelphia, that Kuminga icing, I guess, after his workout in Philly. So I know at times there has been some soreness that's popped up after some of these workouts that Kuminga has gone through. It's not as if he went through the initial healing process, and then as he's done more and more and more, I think there's been some soreness that's popped up that has caused the Warriors to be a little bit more careful. Not necessarily re-injury or setback or anything like that, but just you want an injury to heal and then have a guy get back to, all right, he's working out, conditioning, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, all this stuff. And then you want a guy to be able to do that and feel normal at the end of it. No soreness, like maybe a little tired, but you don't want somebody that's been through that to be really sore. And so I think they're trying to get him to a point where that's not the case. And so we shall see. But yeah, Buddy Hield against bad teams. I'll also say that against bad teams, I think you can at times be dependent on it. But he tends to come up all right against some of the bad teams. That's one of the reasons you need a guy like that every once in a while to get yourself through a regular season game. All right, couple more on the text line here. 626. This is the Buddy buckets that Dub Nation expects to see for them to make a deep playoff run. Yeah, wouldn't bet on it. Wouldn't bet on it. Wouldn't bet on it. Wouldn't count on it. It's nice when you get it, but yeah, I think Buddy's probably more apt to not play a lot in some of the more meaningful games. But again, you still have to get through March in this road trip and games like tonight. 217, Buddy balled out like a legit sixth man. If he does that, the Warriors come out of the West. It's a lock. Sure. But not going to do it. Like, I went into my Magic Johnson. I'm not going to be here. He's not going to do it. Another one here. Solid road win, officially the 6th seed. This one from the 408. Everything lines up perfectly for the playoff seeding. Yeah, they're in a good spot. They're in a really good spot right now as it relates to the seeding with the schedule that they have remaining tomorrow night notwithstanding. And to me, the Warriors are the favorite as long as Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry stay healthy. They're the favorite to get to 6. I think they're the favorite. Now, how does it shake out after that? Minnesota's got a pretty easy schedule left. I think the Clippers, they get Norm Powell back, and I think they start to play better. I mean, as it looks right now, if you were going to say, JD, what do you think right now? Right now, I would say Warriors 6, Timberwolves 7, Clippers 8, Sacramento 9. I got to give them credit. I mean, I said they were playing for 10th, but they just went into Houston and won, and they're winning comfortably. Dallas looks like they've quit, by the way. And Dallas looks like, I mean, in fairness to them, I mean, they're basically playing without, it'd be the equivalent of, how would the Warriors look if you didn't have Steph and you didn't have Jimmy Butler playing? You'd be down 25 at home too, probably. And, we've seen the Kings do that to the Warriors at different times, even when they've had Steph Curry playing. So, that team still has a lot of offensive firepower. But Dallas looked like, oh, damn, like Anthony Davis is already out. They had won some games. Again, we talked about it when the Mavs were at Chase last weekend. I don't think the Mavs are that good. Like, I know there's varying degrees. Like, I really don't think the Mavs are that good. But now you take Kyrie away, and then PJ Washington's playing like every other game for some reason. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on there. I don't think he played in either of the games against the Kings when they played in the last couple of weeks. But, they had won some games, including one against the Warriors, the one Jimmy Butler Warriors L. But imagine them maybe not being that good, and now you take Kyrie. Like, they look like, oh, they've been kind of keeping it together with Kyrie, and then Kyrie goes out, and it's like, all right, we quit. Like, we can't beat him. Like, it's basically kind of that Warrior level of, you don't have Jimmy, you're going to lose to Philly, you're going to lose to Toronto, you're going to lose to Utah, you're going to lose all these games. So I think Dallas in a lot of ways now, especially if Kyrie's going to miss some time with this knee sprain, they're probably going to wind up 10th at this point. And then you've got Phoenix, who's even 3-4 games off of that pace. So that's pretty ugly as it relates to the Western Conference. But yeah, I think the Warriors are the fair. All right, let's get some Kyle's clicks in here on Dubs OT in the YouTube chat. Great to see a lot of the regulars here chiming in. What do we got, Kyle? Let's go a little rapid fire. Let's bring them up. I know you've had them queued up here. What do the people want to get to tonight? Alpha. JD, do you think the Warriors have a better shot against the Nuggets or the Lakers in the first round? Ooh, I've been waiting for this one. I've been debating this one internally for, I don't know, the last week to 10 days. I've been watching the Lakers. I think I've watched the last, 5 or 6. I think I've watched every Laker game since the All-Star break. And I've watched a fair amount of the Nuggets games because they've been playing pretty well. Who do the Warriors have a better shot against, Nuggets or Lakers? It's the Nuggets. It's the Nuggets. And that's even with Jokic. They are not a deep team. And I think while Jokic, look, the Warriors haven't beaten them since the 22 playoffs. Jokic is going to do what Jokic does against everybody. And I think what the Warriors will do is try to do what they did in 22. Now, look, they didn't have Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. in 22, so it's a little different. I mean, it was Monte Morris and Aaron Gordon then. And Aaron Gordon hurts the Warriors too, by the way. But I think LeBron and – I mean, I saw a note today, like teams that are top 10 offense and top 10 defense. I want to make sure I get the note right, so I'm gonna make sure I bring it up here. There are 4 teams now that are top 10 in half-court defense and half-court offensive rating. 4 teams in the league that are top 10 in both half-court offense, half-court defense, right? So when you get to the playoffs, what does it boil down to? The 4 teams right now, Cleveland and Boston in the East, OKC and the Lakers in the West. For the season, by the way, not since the trade or any of that stuff. Like the Lakers are truly a two-way team, and so is OKC. And so I to me it's Denver. They're vulnerable defensively. They're not deep. I think you can kind of let Jokic do what Jokic does, try to take Murray and Porter away, and try to make them inefficient. I think they have some players that can make some bonehead plays, Russell Westbrook, and you can use that to your advantage. I don't think either is a picnic, and maybe I'll change my tune between now and the end of the year. And yeah, Andis Brown, Lakers defense is elite. LeBron's been playing all NBA type defense. It's crazy. Yeah, I just think, and I know Davis has been the true marker, Anthony Davis, against the Warriors, it's felt like, but man, I mean, the Lakers may wind up coming up a little bit short because they don't. I mean, Jackson Hayes has not been bad for them, honestly. Like he's kind of a wild card. Like he reminds me of JaVale McGee a lot. Like he just like he'll make some of the he'll do some of the craziest, most ill-timed poor plays you'll ever see. But he also can do a lot of things that really help. And the Lakers have been good with him in the starting lineup this year also. So yeah, the Lakers defense is elite and they're figuring out the offense. They've got 2 guys that they can run anything from. LeBron's going to be fresh. I think LeBron's playing as well this year as he has in the last 5 years. I mean, I think LeBron's out of this world. So yeah, tell me, Kyle, I'm going Denver. Before we get to more in the chat, would you rather see the Warriors face Denver or the Lakers?
I remember we had this discussion. I forget if it was on Just Dubs or Dubs OT, but I remember I picked the Lakers because I thought their defense was suspect. But I haven't really watched a lot of Lakers basketball, especially recently. So, I mean, I trust Andis Brown that the Lakers defense is elite. And if that were the case, yes, I would rather choose the Denver Nuggets because then I think the Warriors could go small, have Draymond guard Jokic, and figure out the rest of the rotation from there. So I'm going to shift my answer and lean towards the Nuggets.
Yeah, I think it's, and I don't even remember what I said. I might have said the Lakers also back then, but I wondered how long it would take. I don't even think Luka's been great. And they're winning every game. Like he's been kind of inefficient and he still looks out of shape, but he's taken enough off LeBron and they've got good. They just have a bunch of good 2-way players. Honestly, they have guys that can knock down shots. They have guys who can defend. So to me, it's neither one is a picnic, but I do think Denver is more vulnerable because they're not as good defensively. And they aren't deep, and they just there's just I think you could get them in a series where they get a little frustrated, and you can beat them. You get it. I think the Warriors would have the potential to get a mental edge on them. FL Dubs fan, Nuggets, correct, JD. Nuggets are more schizophrenic than the Lakers. Lakers can be very consistent for stretches. Nuggets live and die depending upon which Murray you get. Yeah, that's the other part of it. And I think you can try to – I think the game plan for the Warriors would be, yes, a lot of Draymond on Jokic, but it's also let Jokic be a scorer and don't let Jokic get everybody else easy baskets and easy attempts. You try to take everybody else away, and they have a tendency, as great as Jokic is on a lot of nights, the Nuggets have the ability to bog down. And I know in a playoff series, you don't necessarily need a hell of a lot of depth, but I think the Nuggets, you still need 8 guys you trust, I think, in a playoff series. Like so often the playoff series come down to the trustable players and the playable players. Like every team starts off with 8, 9 guys that they trust, 10, whatever it is, the number of players that they trust in a series. And as the series goes on, more and more of those players basically get played off the court. And what you see is the team that ultimately wins a lot of the time is the team that has the most playable players, guys that can't get exposed, because the playoffs are so much about matchup hunting and mismatches and how teams go up against each other over and over and over and over again. I'm getting excited thinking about it. Just a playoff series it's great. It's just a different animal. Ian J, Lakers have had their number, but it's a whole new ball game. No Davis, Jimmy being on the roster. We haven't seen what it looks like yet. That's fair. And look, we talked about this Saturday. I mean, I'm fascinated to see the 2 games. The Warriors played Denver twice at home in March and April, and the Warriors play the Lakers one more time down in Los Angeles. Actually, they have a back-to-back in April 3rd and 4th. The Warriors are in LA against the Lakers, and then they come home and they play the Nuggets the next night. So we're going to see both of those teams go back and forth on consecutive nights. So we'll get a feel. I hope everybody's able to play. I really want to see what the matchups look like. Yet Davis has been the guy that's really hurt the Warriors, but I kind of like what the Lakers have cooking right now with LeBron and with Luka Doncic, even though they aren't maybe a complete team. Digum 117. I'm in the minority on this. I'd rather have the Lakers in a series because Luka won't be able to hide on defense. Yeah, that's true. You can attack Luka. And I also think the Warriors have the potential to be able to attack the Lakers maybe more inside than they've been able to, with Davis protecting the paint. But man, LeBron just knows their offense so well. I mean, LeBron just sits back and just plays every passing lane in the head-to-head matchups. But he's been able to do that in part because they've been able to force a lot of stuff into Davis, and Davis has really protected the paint and rebounded, and the Warriors have not had a lot of success there. But no, I'm leaning Denver just because I think Denver's more vulnerable to be able to score, more vulnerable defensively to where you can score against them. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Warriors do win tonight, 119-101. Looking at some of the notes from postgame in Charlotte, Stephen Curry telling reporters on the scene there he thinks he will play tomorrow night, but said he did roll his ankle, his right ankle, played in the fourth quarter. Hopeful he will be feeling good tomorrow morning. No swelling and all of that. JC Mack, I do want to see how it looks with Jimmy and no Steph. Well, you might be the only one. You might be the only one that wants to see that. I'm sure we are going to get an opportunity to see that. I don't think it's going to look great, but that being said, the Warriors have won a lot of the non-Steph minutes with Jimmy Butler out there, and it's basically been Jimmy Butler a lot of the time that Steph has been off the floor. It's been Jimmy Butler with the other starters, and the interesting thing the Warriors have done is they put Quentin Post out there. And so they get the shooting from the center as opposed to from the greatest shooter of all time. And that's been a functional lineup. The lineup that's played the most together in the non-Curry minutes that's been the most effective has been Post at the 5 with Draymond at the 4, Jimmy Butler at the 3, Moses Moody at the 2, believe it or not. We say Moses Moody doesn't play the 2, but Moody has played the 2 in that group. And then Pajemski's been the guy that's been out there at the 1. So it's basically been Quentin Post instead of Steph and the other 4 starters with Jimmy Butler leading that unit. So I think it would be safe to say if Steph missed a game, they would probably start that group. And then you'd have to figure out what the bench is going to look like around it. But I don't know, JC Mack. I don't think any Warrior fan wants to see. Maybe next year, like November 15th. Joke's on you, JD, without Pods or Moody hitting some shots. This team won't make it out of the first round and or win a play-in. Yeah, again, the number one way around that is get to the 6th seed, and then you can have a little bit of a margin for error. That's the one thing I will say that you don't love about the play-in tournament if it comes down to that. And again, I think things are really, really, really looking good in terms of the Warriors' ability to be able to get to 6. But if you get into a series, you can have those guys have a bad game or two and you can still win the series. Now, that being said, you can't have 4 bad games. You get into a play-in tournament type scenario and you have 1 bad game or 2, and then it might be night for you at that particular point in time. But no, they're going to need other guys to make shots. That's without a doubt. And or get some scoring from Kuminga. I mean, I think that's the other part of it. Enrique Rivera, Dubs are still a legit player away from the Western Conference Finals. Could that player be Kuminga? Maybe. Again, I'm on record. I don't think, in fairness to Kuminga, you should put that on Kuminga. But I do think either Kuminga is going to be that guy, or Kuminga is going to be the guy who gets you that guy via sign and trade. And that's the other part, that because the Warriors have played so well with Jimmy, that we really haven't spent a ton of time focusing in on. But I mean, they have to evaluate who are the keepers, where you come up short. And this was something that really popped into my mind after the Philly game. And I didn't belabor it, but I also wasn't surprised by it. The Warriors have to be able to build a team next year that can get through the regular season and win enough to, say, be top 4, while also, like, they're in a unique position because Steph and Jimmy, you're really only asking them together here to play 28 out of the last 32 or 20, and Jimmy's missed the 1 and Steph hasn't had to yet, but it's a 1/3 of the season sprint. It's unfair to ask Steph and Jimmy Butler to play 70 to 75 games next year. Like, if you told me that both of them are going to play that many games, then I could tell you could run this same team back, and given what we've seen to this point, you add Kuminga to the mix, that's a team that could win 50-plus games. That being said, you can't count on 70 to 75. It's probably got to be more like 55 to 60 in terms of both of those guys being able to play together. So what you have to do is build a team. You have to build a team to where you can win regular season games like tonight, regular season games like Saturday night, where one of those guys or maybe even both of them aren't playing. And so keep that in mind, because the one thing that we know is that this team without one of those guys really isn't very good. And so you can't play a third of the year next year where, Jimmy Butler's out and you basically are like a 10 game under 500 kind of a team for 30 games. Like you can't, because that 10-20 is going to wreck your entire season at that point. So you can't, like, that will prevent you. And we're seeing it right now. Like, the ceiling for the Warriors is 6th. Well, the reason the ceiling for the Warriors is 6th is because they went from 12 and 3, they were 10 under for like 3 months. So that's why the ceiling, if you weren't that bad, you might be able to still be in that mix for 4th. So that to me, again, long-winded way of saying, as you listen to KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM San Francisco, a Cumulus media station, that's a long-winded way of me saying you have to build a team that's capable enough to win some games without these guys to where you can still get a top 4 seed next year. I know that's a next year problem. There's nothing you can do about it, but the evaluation of the keepers versus the guys that you have to add into the mix for next year, that in addition to one legit player away from being in the Western Conference Finals, because there's nothing really you can do about that unless it's Kuminga. Like Kuminga, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think everybody's tantalized to find out at what level. It may work out great. It may not. I mean, and so, that will tell us part of the story. Land of the Hella. I'm excited to get Kuminga back. It's going to be like we signed a free agent. Yeah, no doubt. I think everybody's excited. I think it's going to take him some time. I would not, as I've said a lot, much to the chagrin of a lot of Warrior fans, I would not anticipate Kuminga coming back being like you're getting a 3rd star. I think everybody's got such a varying degree of opinion of his game to where I think some think of it in that way. But I definitely think he can help. I think if anything, San Jose Jazz fan 4, I may be in the minority on this. OKC, Lakers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Rockets are a problem. Warriors should beat the Rockets. Warriors should beat the Grizzlies. I think the Warriors should beat I would be highly confident and again, this is Jimmy Butler plays. This is Kuminga or no Kuminga, by the way. Kuminga or no Kuminga. Warriors should beat the Grizzlies or Rockets in a series. If they have Jimmy, they have everybody that they have right now. Jimmy, Steph, Jimmy. Kuminga or no Kuminga. Warriors beat the Grizzlies, beat the Rockets in a series. Lakers, Nuggets, Thunder, I don't know. Lakers to me are the toughest. Nuggets are 2. OKC, I think, is still a coin flip, but I think they'd be the team among that group that you'd most want to see. Jimbo, Warriors are a problem too with all hands on deck. I mean, 8-1 tells you that. This team's 8-1. I don't care who they've played. They're 8-1. And we saw the difference between the Warriors didn't play great. Here's the difference between Jimmy Butler and no Jimmy Butler. Warriors didn't play great tonight. Jimmy Butler was at, let's say, 80%. They won by 19. Jimmy Butler didn't play the other night. They got beat by a team that hadn't won since before the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that tells you, yeah, 8-1 says the Warriors are definitely a problem with all hands on deck. No question. They are. They're 8-1. Look, this team, I think, is the 4th best team in the West. At a minimum, they're the 4th best team in the West. Like, they're better than Memphis and Houston. They're better than the Kings. They're better than Dallas. They're better than Minnesota. This Warriors team, even without Kuminga, is the 4th best team in the Western Conference. And again, that's not a slight. I'm just saying that's to me where they would, if they play all 82 with this team, I think they'd be 4th. That's a compliment, by the way. People are gonna be like, oh my God, 4th. They'd be the best. No, that's a compliment, people. Like they're better than all. It's me saying they're better than all these other teams. Joe Schmo, they should not need JK to fit right in, dropping 20 plus. Just get JK in game shape, work him in as a bench piece, and see what he can do in a straight. Exactly. Couldn't have said it any better, Joe Schmo. That's what the expectation should be, and that he's healthy. Like that, the fact, again, I know there's a lot of people that are frustrated that like think the Warriors are sitting on a healthy Kuminga right now, being cute about it, not bringing him back. Like they're not bringing him back because he's not ready to come back. If he was ready to come back a week ago, he would have been playing a week ago. Like nobody's being cute about it. Nobody's not wanting to bring him back or trying to get a few more games without him, or like if he was healthy, he'd be back. Like that is the reality of this. So I know there's every time they lose, it's like, God, get him on the court. He needs to be playing. Yeah, you want to see him come back, but this was as bad an ankle injury as bad an ankle sprain as you can have. And I think that's pretty clear. Drew down. JD, I know Iverson was the answer, but Kuminga is a problem. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's going to have opportunities, no doubt, to make an impact. All right. Bennett Roth, the sky was falling on Saturday. The sky has been restored tonight. All it took was Jimmy Butler showing up. It's all it took. All it took. But again, I think it goes to show they need him playing, because tonight even got a little dicey for a little bit. I mean, it wasn't really dicey. But third quarter, you're thinking, hey. And Buddy Hield got hot, and Pajemski got hot. And then you see what a significant talent advantage the Warriors really have over a team like Charlotte. My goodness. All right, let's go ahead and take a timeout. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. We will continue the conversation. We got Sounds of Dubs OT coming up as well, as the Warriors get the win at Charlotte 119-101. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader.
We would like to make the playoffs.
Back with more Blue and Gold. This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
As Pajewski, 2 fourth-quarter threes, and Brandon, he's got 19 points to go with his 9 rebounds, and Draymond loving it.
And again, Buddy Hield was smiling too because he was just kind of running around, and it made Pajewski's defender react. All of a sudden, he had some space.
All right, welcome back. Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The number to give us a call or shoot us a text here. Warriors win in Charlotte, 119-101. So they are 2-1 on the road trip. Wins in Orlando and Charlotte. They lose the game in Philadelphia on Saturday without Jimmy Butler. And now on to New York. We'll hear from Steph Curry coming up at 8:30 in our Sounds of Dubs OT. We'll also have some fun with numbers and more of Kyle's clicks throughout the course of the show here as we get you up until 9 o'clock. And then back tomorrow, Warriors and the Knicks tomorrow from Madison Square Garden. And we will be on again at 7 right after Niners Nightly, right as that game goes final from New York. We'll see who ends up playing for the Warriors in that one. But again, that's a nationally televised TNT. Steph wants to play in the Garden. Kind of a showdown game with the Warriors looking right now at an 8-1 record in the games that Jimmy Butler has played in over the course of the last 3.5 weeks. Warriors winning tonight pretty much with Buddy Hield and Brandon Pajewski helping to bring them home into the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. This game was a struggle for the Warriors, as we've been talking about. Warriors found themselves really unable to shoot the ball well early in this. They were 3 for 13 from 3 in the first quarter and ended up 8 of 28 at halftime from 3-point range. Second half overall, Warriors 10 of 22. So they got the 3-ball going, and the Warriors doing it defensively throughout the course of this game. They hold Charlotte to under 40% shooting, and the Warriors still having the ability to clamp down in a big-time way when they need to, and that is all enough. Warriors, the non-Steph minutes at the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, plus 13 for the Dubs in that stretch, and that winds up being the difference maker as the Warriors win 119-101. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The other question on the board tonight as well that we were kicking around is, as you look at the Western Conference standings, the Warriors with the win now are 6th in the Western Conference, 33-28. Just kind of updating everything here. Warriors 33-28, 6th. Clippers 32-28, 7th. Tied with the Kings are the Clippers. So the Kings remain just a half game back, as we've been talking about them. They won in Dallas tonight. Kyrie Irving got hurt early in that one and ended up out for the entirety of the remainder of the game. So Clippers and Kings are tied at 32-28. Clippers have the tiebreaker over Sac, as they do over the Warriors. And then Minnesota right there tied with Sacramento and the Clippers. So it's a 3-way tie right now, 7-8-9 between the Clippers, Kings, and Timberwolves, all a half game back of the Warriors. But the Warriors do, at least for tonight. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Tough game for the Dubs tomorrow at New York against the Knicks. But the Warriors get to 6th. The Lakers are as hot as anybody in the league right now, 38-21. And the Nuggets have been playing really well for the most part for about the last 2 months. Honestly, they're 39-22, but the Lakers are 2nd, Nuggets are 3rd, Warriors 6th. So 6 plays 3. Right now it'd be the Warriors and the Nuggets in a first-round playoff series. And our question we've been kicking around a lot tonight is, who would you rather face if you're the Warriors? Denver or the Lakers? I'm pretty sure I flip-flopped on this thing from a couple of weeks ago. Kyle brought it up. Uncle Looney had to pull over. JD lost his damn mind. Much rather play the Lakers. Lakers literally only have the refs. Yeah, I'm flip flopping on this one. And that's part of it. By the way, I didn't really thought about that, but the Lakers do tend to get a favorable whistle against everybody, and the way that they play, I think, garners a more favorable whistle against the Warriors than potentially it would the other way. Although, does Jimmy Butler mitigate that? We shall see. But no, I just think Denver is more vulnerable. I don't more vulnerable defensively. They are more vulnerable, I think, in terms of their depth. And look, neither is a great matchup. I want to see these teams play a little bit head to head, but kind of playing it out in my mind. I think that Denver, even with Jokic, is a more exploitable team. And they're just a little inconsistent. Now, look, Michael Malone is a great coach, and he'd have a great game plan. And look, he allowed for that 2022 Nuggets team that didn't have Murray or Porter to hang in against the Warriors. They were close in all those games, even though the Warriors won in 5. Every single one of the games was basically close down the stretch, and the Warriors were able to prevail. And again, that's without Porter and without Jamal Murray. But I just think they're more vulnerable. Denver's won a title with that core top 4 players 2 years ago, but it was as much about the Bruce Browns and some of those guys that I think help Denver. They just don't have a trustable bench in my mind. So again, I don't think either is a picnic by any stretch, but the Lakers have figured it out here in the last couple of weeks at a level that I didn't think they would be able to figure it out. So yeah, sorry. Maybe I'll flip flop again. EB here. Luka's a basketball savant. He could just stare at you, and that'll be his defense. You got to take advantage of Luka if you're and look, the Warriors have been a better offensive team with Jimmy Butler. But it's been really predicated on a lot of other players kind of getting theirs. And maybe playoff Jimmy mitigates some of this. I mean, are the Warriors going to get playoff Jimmy? If the Warriors are going to get playoff Jimmy, you might say it doesn't matter who they play. The Warriors are just winning anyway at that point. But yeah, attacking Luka, that's the one area where I am curious to see how the head-to-head potentially has changed between the Warriors and the Lakers, because Anthony Davis was such a dominant force against the Warriors. And Luka, let's be honest, is somebody that you can attack. I mean, that is just the reality. But do the Warriors have the guys to attack Luka? That's the question. Do the Warriors have the players to attack Luka in a manner that others have the ability to attack Luka Doncic? 408, JD, do you feel the West is better, worse, or the same compared to the last 2 seasons? That is a great question. I think it's much more similar to 2 years ago than last year. It's not going to take as many wins to get to 6th, right? The Warriors ended up with 44, and that got them 6th 2 years ago. Last year, you had to win 50, I believe, to get 6, maybe even 51, but it was at least 50 to get to 6. So I think it's a little weaker. Bob Granelli, Warriors are 4 back of the Rockets. Don't they have the tiebreaker over the Rockets? Yes, although 4 with 21 to go is a lot. They do have one more head-to-head, and they do already have the tiebreaker. They've won 3 out of 4. They play a 5th time because they were 2 teams that faced off in the in-season tournament to go to Vegas. So they ended up playing a 5th. They will play a 5th game head-to-head against each other. That one is April 6th, I believe, at Chase on a Sunday, late afternoon, early evening. And I wrote off the ability to get to 5th, but 4's a lot. with 21 games to go. But as we look around at the NBA scoreboard tonight, the Rockets did get beat again. So the Warriors picked up a game on the Rockets. Oklahoma City 137, Houston 128. Memphis lost at home to Atlanta. Grizzlies had a 13-point lead in that one. And the Hawks came back and won it. Grizzlies were up 11 with about 7 minutes to go. They were up 7 with about 4 minutes to go. They were up 5 with 2:30 to go. And the Hawks able to win at Memphis 132 to 130. Look, that would be the perfect, and estimated eyes, I think the Rockets are going to drop. They have been. The Rockets were third, and now they're fifth. So the Rockets have been dropping in the standings, 37 and 24. 5-5 still in the last 10, even though they've lost 2 in a row. But yeah, the game that really hurts them is that Sacramento game. Sacramento loses Sabonis. The Rockets were not ready to play the other night against the Kings at home. And the Kings got off to a hot start, kind of like tonight. Got off to a hot start and just it carried them through. And tonight, Kings got off to a hot start in Dallas. The Kings were on track to win that game, even without Kyrie. But when Kyrie went out, it was a wrap. But we'll see. 4-21 is a lot. Four games to make up in 21 is a lot. 3-20 is a lot, even if you're counting the one game that the Warriors would have the ability to get on Houston just by beating them on April the 6th. But I got to tell you, that's the perfect world scenario for the Warriors. The perfect world scenario would be, can you get to 5th, play Memphis, and then play OKC? That's the like if that could happen. And again, I think you got to get within 3 to really start to take it. I think it's got to be within 3 in the next, say, 5 games. I think they have to gain another game or 2 in the next maybe 5 games, 4 or 5 games. It's got to be 3 with about 15 to go, I think, to really have a shot. It's got to be 2 with about 9 or 10 to go. I think you got to be within 2 by about 10 to go to have it, with the tiebreaker and the one game head to head in the final 10. So I think, it's incremental, and you got to keep winning every freaking game Jimmy Butler plays. Jimbo, man, I love the Warriors. I just wanted to get in a series. Yeah, look, that's end of the day. That's what it boils down to is just get into a series. But let me tell you, you get Memphis and a 5-4 matchup where you're not going to have home court advantage, but you could beat Memphis and then get OKC, while Denver and the Lakers are playing each other in a second round series, and you only have to beat one of them because one of those 2 teams is going to take care of the other. And Denver of the last few years has owned the Lakers, although the Lakers with Luka and LeBron beat them in Denver a couple weeks ago. So maybe that matchup has shifted a little bit. But when you start looking at, hey, can the Warriors win multiple rounds or get to the finals this year? I think that's the path that it would have to be. It would have to be, you get Memphis and OKC, you beat Memphis, you upset OKC, Denver and the Lakers play each other, you're in a conference finals against whoever comes out of that, you only have to beat one of them. Like that's how you get to it. That's how it would have to be. I do not see a scenario where the Warriors get in, they get 6, they beat Denver, then they beat the Lakers, then they beat OKC. Like, I just don't. And then you got to beat Cleveland or Boston. I think one of those teams is coming out of the East. But again, these are fun problems to have and fun topics to debate. But as you look at where the Warriors are right now, they're 6th, but they're 6th by a thread. And they're playing the Knicks tomorrow, which very easily could be a loss. And given the state of some of these other teams that we've been discussing tonight, Warriors could, by the time they take the floor on Thursday, be sixth right now and be 9th on Thursday. And any kind of little slip up or injury immediately would put them right back into what would be an uphill type of a climb. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's go ahead and take a quick timeout. We'll come back. Our final segment, we will have our Sounds of Dubs OT. We'll get fun with numbers and Kyle's clicks. More from the YouTube chat. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch as the Warriors win it 119-101. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no balls.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, welcome back. Dubs OT with JD as we are here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Final segment, Warriors win 119-101. That's the final as the Warriors improve to 33-28 on the season. 6th in the West, at least for a night. I mean, that was the goal going back to 3.5 weeks ago. And look, if you would have said, JD, do you think the Warriors can get to 6? Do you think the Warriors will be 6th within a month? I would have said no chance, given where they were. And I was right there in Chicago when Steve Kerr said, hey, 6 is the goal. But when you go 8-1 with Jimmy Butler in the fold, 6 can become the goal pretty quickly. And there have been some teams beneath them, the Clippers and Dallas and Phoenix, just completely falling apart and in shambles. And there you go. All of a sudden, the Warriors are right there in 6th in the Western Conference at 33-28 with 21 games to go. They get Jimmy Butler back. They play one of the worst teams in the league, and they get right back on track 2-1 on this road trip with the Knicks tomorrow. All right, let's hear from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr. We'll also hear from Draymond and from Steph Curry as well here on Dubs OT and our sounds at Dubs OT. And the first one is just that topic we were talking about, which is the head coach of the Warriors on finally, at least for the time being, getting to 6th.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But obviously everybody's bunched together, 5 teams within a game of each other or so. We can't take too much time to celebrate. We got another game tomorrow, and we could very easily find ourselves in 9th tomorrow. I don't know. So we just got to keep going.
Yeah, Steve must have been listening to Dubs OT, Kyle, because they might be. I think I got it. Steve and I are so aligned sometimes, and like just the way we view everything. I'm like, there are often times where I'll say something, and then like Steve will play, like Steve will say it. We'll play it during Sounds of Dubs OT. I'm like, Jesus, like are we? Yeah, you might be 9th by like Thursday if you don't win tomorrow. But again. The Warriors giving themselves a shot here. The work is not done. They're going to have to continue to keep on winning. Here is the obligatory Steve Kerr postgame clip on just how well Jimmy Butler has fit next to Steph Curry. We saw it Saturday when Jimmy was unavailable. And again, we've seen it more and more in some of these just non-sexy Jimmy Butler statistical games, but everything falls into place just based on his presence, and a lot of that has to do with the fit. So here's the head coach.
I think they complement each other really well. Jimmy's a phenomenal all-around basketball player, two-way player. He's at his best when the ball is moving. I think we can do a better job of getting him involved by not letting the ball stick early in possessions. If he can get it on the backside of a possession, after it's moved 3 or 4 times, he's unstoppable on that drive, and he creates so much for his teammates. I thought the first half it was catch and hold. He wasn't engaged. He wasn't involved. That's on us as a team. We have to play with ball movement and flow and rhythm. And so it's still a work in progress, but I love Jimmy's fit here. I think he's perfect next to Steph and Dre, and it's showing. Obviously, I think we're 8-1 since we got him with him in the lineup. That's not by accident.
It's not by accident, and a little bit of a next level there as it relates to Jimmy. It's interesting listening to Steve there. It kind of reminded me of some of the things that he would say about Andrew Wiggins from time to time. And this isn't a mentality thing versus Wiggins and Jimmy, and as far as being not wanting to attack or those kinds of things. I think at times that might have been the case with Andrew Wiggins specifically, but as you look at, like, they've got to get the ball into Jimmy's hands and out of Jimmy's hands and back into Jimmy's hands where he can attack and look to score. I think that late in shot clock, 10 seconds to operate, but get the ball back to Jimmy after a couple of passes with him kind of initiating and the defense is a little bit in scramble mode, and he can, get by his man and try to get to the free throw line or get to the bucket or kick it to somebody for an open three. It has been a little stagnant. Now, guys have hit enough shots. He's gotten to the line enough, but there's just been something lacking there. And I don't know if it's the system fit or maybe just kind of giving it to Jimmy and just standing too much and allowing things to stagnate. But I've been trying to kind of pinpoint what the key adjustment would be to kind of get him. And Steve used to say with Wiggins, I got to call some plays for Wiggins. Got to get him involved early. And again, I think that speaks more to the Wiggins mentality than anything else. But I do want to see more opportunities for Jimmy Butler to look to score in ways that he can, which is trying to get downhill a little bit, trying to get little mid-range or even inside of mid-range, pull-up type jumpers where it's not just take an open three or pass up an open three because you're not confident that you can make it. So I think that's a little bit of a sneak peek there as it relates to just how to figure out different ways to kind of get Jimmy Butler a little bit more involved and a little bit more efficient in the Warriors offense. All right, let's continue here. Our Sounds of Dubs OT segment. Warriors win 119-101 from Steve Kerr to Draymond Green. Here is Draymond post-game talking about the Warriors getting into gear in the second half.
I like that we did win. But, in the first half, I thought we was playing a pretty good basketball, and it just didn't quite bounce our way. Second half, I think, they came out, got it going, and we weathered the storm. Took control of the game when we needed to take control of the game. Steve did some things that was kind of to light a fire. It took me out with 8 minutes to go. I think took me and BP out, or me. I want to say me and BP with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. Mixing some things up to fire this team up, to get the team going, and I think guys responded really well.
Yes, subtle adjustment there. And I think Draymond letting everybody behind the curtain. I noted that on my little lineup sheet. I thought Steve was subbing, in part, I think it was the injury. Podziemski ends up needing to come out of the game early, and so he put Buddy Hield in, but he also took Draymond out right then, and he put Quentin Post in. I thought he was lining up Draymond to maybe have to play a few more minutes down the stretch. I thought he was lining up a closing lineup by basically changing the rotation a little bit in that third quarter. But he got a little bit more offense on the court with Buddy Hield and with Quentin Post. He basically said, hey, I'm losing Podziemski. The team's kind of bogging down a little bit. Gonna go more offense, gonna go more shooting. And so there was a good chunk there where, Guy Santos was out there. He kind of went away from Moses Moody a little bit and, had Post out there with Buddy and Curry. You get 3 shooters out there for a stretch with Guy Santos and GP. And eventually then Draymond comes back. And, that was the group there at the end of the quarter that helped weather the storm, as Draymond put it, and help the Warriors ultimately even that quarter and not have it be a losing quarter, which would have set them up in a really bad way down the stretch there. But yeah, a little bit of a different rotation tweak after Kerr basically stayed right on what he had been using here recently, tweaked it a little bit in the second half, and it wound up paying dividends. All right, more from Draymond, our second cut. And here Draymond talks about Brandon Podziemski. Look, anytime Podziemski has a tough game, it is always going to be felt, I think, 2, maybe even 3-fold, even though he's been one of the Warriors' best players for the last month and a half. But he did not play well in Philadelphia. He did not close the game in Philadelphia. He didn't get off to a great start shooting in this game tonight, but he did bounce back, and Draymond addressed the second-year man's ability to come back from a bad game.
One thing we're always preaching to him is just be decisive. We believe he's a really good shooter, a really good basketball player, can be for a long time in this league, but he gets down on himself quite a bit. Just want him to always understand that, hey, we all have belief in you, but also that belief can't exceed the belief that you have in yourself. Responding to every shot, it's a long journey, man. You can't ride that roller coaster. Relaying that to him, like, man, we believe. And he had a tough game last game. And I told him, I think it was because, you had one tough game in the last 10, 11, been playing great. And I think you had a tough game last game, and you're starting this game off having a tough game is because you're second guessing everything. So Steve got at him a little bit last game. You can't allow that to make you second guess yourself more. Let that charge you forward. Let that turn you up more. Let that make you be more decisive, because ultimately that's what Steve's doing it for. He's like, BP, you holding the ball too long. Only time he know how to make every play. The only time he hold the ball too long is when you get in your head and you start overthinking. And so, just letting him know about that. Don't overthink anything. Everybody over here have the utmost belief in you. Be aggressive. And so when he just raise up and shoot those, I didn't necessarily go at him, but you can't share beliefs of what you think someone need to do better, and then when they do it, not big up them. You got to have that same energy.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you look at Podziemski being such a confident young player, but also you can see the times where he gets down. Like, you really can't. You can see the lack of confidence, the overpassing, the not wanting to take a shot. Like, it does flip fast. Like, from somebody that thinks he's a really damn good shooter and a big time scorer, and I think had visions of. We all talk about Kuminga. But I think Podziemski, as much as Kuminga thought he was coming into this team this year to be the number 2 guy, if you listen to some of the quotes in the offseason and training camp, and like, he's more than willing. But I also think he is the kind of guy that, as Draymond said, can get down on himself a little bit quickly. And, that's the part that, he if his shot isn't falling, he is a skilled enough player in the context of the Warriors offense to keep it moving and get a good shot for somebody else, or get the ball shot back to him to where he takes the shot. And so I think, but you can't have those moments where the worst thing that Podziemski can do is when he's indecisive. There is a good shot. There are bad shots. Sometimes he takes some bad shots. Sometimes he passes up some shots that need to be taken. Just be decisive. That's the number one thing, whether his game's rolling, whether his game's not rolling. And I think that indecisiveness is exactly why he wound up not finishing the game as much as going back to Saturday, as much as the ineffectiveness or the lack of shooting. But tonight, much more in line with, he didn't shoot it great overall, 6 of 16, but he did shoot it well in the second half. And you look at the second half numbers for Podziemski, he ended up, knocking down 3 threes, and that was important. Fourth quarter, 3 for 6 from 3, 9 points. Warriors needed it. Him and Buddy Hield were the Warriors' leading scorers in the fourth quarter. Warriors win the fourth quarter, 33-24, 18. You know how many fourth quarter points Steph Curry had tonight? 0. You know who led the Warriors in scoring in the fourth quarter? Podziemski, 9, Buddy Hield, 9. And Warriors needed all of it to be able to kind of put the game away there. All right, more from Draymond here on our Sounds of Dubs OT. Dressed Brandon Podziemski. We heard from Steve Kerr on Jimmy Butler's fit. Let's hear from Draymond on Jimmy Butler's fit next to Steph. And he also addresses a little bit of what Steve Kerr did in terms of trying to find ways where Jimmy Butler can be a little bit more effective as a scorer, which is lacked from time to time.
Yeah, Jimmy's fit as a whole is great. Steph is one of the easiest people to build chemistry with, and Jimmy is shown to be also one of the easiest people to build chemistry with. He makes the game so much easier for everybody he's on the floor with. And their chemistry, I think, is great, and it'll continue to build. I think one thing we want Jimmy to understand is we want him being aggressive as hell. be aggressive as hell to score the basketball. And I think, sometimes you can come in the fold and you come into the fold with a guy like Steph and you're like, I don't want to be as aggressive. I don't want to step on his toes. And he's going to encourage you to be aggressive more than anybody. And so, we're still finding that balance. I think it's been, 9 or 10 games that Jimmy has played. Still finding that balance. But, as this season continue to go, we'll for sure need Jimmy to be aggressive as hell on the offensive end. And we know what he's capable of. So it'll happen.
I think that in some ways, Kyle, might be the most, like the thing that you would feel the best about if you're the Warriors right now is the fact that I don't really feel like he's been aggressive as a scorer. He's had 20-point games. He's had the games where he's gotten to the free throw line, all of that. I don't feel like he's been super aggressive as a scorer, but yet they're 8-1. And like, what happens if he does figure out different spots where maybe he doesn't turn into playoff level Jimmy buckets, but I think there's even a level, Kyle, in between where he is now and what we've seen him be as Jimmy buckets or playoff Jimmy that really could, even tapping that level could really help the Warriors in a big way here down the stretch.
Yeah, no, when he was playoff Jimmy, he was averaging over 30 points a game, I believe. And it's not that we need him to score that many points per game, but somewhere in the consistent low to mid 20 range, I think would fit this would be exactly what this team needs. And we've seen him score over 20 points, but it's been quiet, and a lot of those points have come at the free throw line.
Yeah, those have been the biggest games. If you look at the Warriors, he averaged over 20 in his first. I'm looking at it 6 games. He basically had 25, 20. His highest scoring game for the Warriors was his first game, 25 against Chicago on February the 8th. He 11 at the free throw line. He had 20 against Milwaukee, 12 at the free throw line. I mean, he's had made free throw games of 11, 12, 8, 7, 6. I mean, he's just when he's really rolling, that's what it is. But you look at, double figures and basically averaging 20 for the first 6 games. It's dipped here over the last 3 games that he's played. You look at the last 3 games that he's played, and he's averaging 8 points a game over the last 3 games that he's played, and he hasn't gotten to the free throw line nearly as much. But the one thing I will say, the assist numbers have been there, 5, 7. You look at, he's basically averaging 5, 6 assists per game over that span. But I think finding a way to where he can be confident and aggressive is going to be really, really important. And the Warriors kind of finding the different ways that he can tick offensively is going to be really important. All right, final clip. Let's hear Steph Curry here on our Sounds of Dubs OT. Warriors win in Charlotte, 119-101. Everybody wants to know, is Steph going to play tomorrow? He tweaked the ankle. Here's the full answer. This courtesy of Anthony Slater of The Athletic. Here's what Steph had to say, how he's feeling now and how he'll look toward tomorrow at New York.
It feels all right now. It's cold from the ice tub. See how I feel in the morning. I did roll it, but I finished the game, so hopefully it wakes up. I'll wake up with a little bit more recovery than it is right now. I think I'm going to play, but if my ankle says I shouldn't play, then I won't play. There you go. That's better.
There you go. I think I'm going to play, but if my ankle says I shouldn't play, then I won't. He's going to play. I think he's going to play. Unless he wakes up tomorrow and it's bad, I think he's going to play. I think the plan has been for him to play in this game. It's obviously a TNT game, so it'd have to be a legitimate injury there. But I think he loves. I mean, you think how many opportunities is Steph going to have to play at Madison Square Garden again in his career? I mean, it's 3, 2, 5. I mean, and you never know. I mean, so I got to think he cherishes. Obviously, might be a few more if you end up playing them in a finals. And I've kind of discounted them in terms of having the ability to get to the finals. I'm on the Cleveland or Boston tip in terms of who's coming out of the East. But I got to think. I got to think again, unless that thing really swells bad tomorrow and is sore, we're gonna see Steph Curry out there. All right, let's get to some fun with number. Kyle, we want to do fun with numbers first. Let's do fun with numbers first, and then Kyle's clicks. So let's.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, Warriors get the win, 119-101, 33-28, 2-1 on the road trip. Knicks and Nets, the next two. Warriors back to 1 over 500 on the road, and they have won 6 of the last 7 games, including 4 of the last 5 on the road as well. Warriors sweep the season series against the Hornets for the second straight season. Warriors have won 7 of the last 9 against the Hornets, including 5 in a row, going back to this year, to last year, the final game, going back to that 22-23 season as well. First game of back-to-backs, Warriors 7-4 in the 11th set of back-to-backs to this point, tomorrow at New York. And the Warriors now 8-2 since Jimmy Butler made his debut on February 8th, 8-1 with Jimmy. They are 6-1 on the road with Jimmy Butler, 2-0 at home. Again, 8-1 overall with the Warriors and Jimmy Butler. And they had 30 assists tonight, 30 or more assists, 5 of the last 6 games. Warriors are 18-8 when they have 30 or more assists. The Warriors, we talk a lot about how they don't have a lot of comebacks. They are 31-4 when they lead going to the fourth quarter, which they've done 35 times. And the Warriors telling stat, we had this note earlier, 39.5% shooting for the Hornets. Warriors are 8-0 this year when they hold opponents under 40%. So they clamp down on a team that really struggles to score, and that allowed for the Warriors to prevail in this one. 3 Warriors tonight. This is a fun one. 3 Warriors had a double-double in the game tonight. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Brandon Podziemski. That's the first time this season the Warriors had 3 players have a double-double. First time since March of last year when the Warriors had 3 players who had a double-double. Those 3 players were Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and Chris Paul. Go figure. That's kind of a random one. Steph not involved in that double-double. Buddy Hield led the Warriors in scoring with 22. His 9th 20-point game of the season. Warriors are 9-0 when Buddy scores 20 or more. They are 10-0 when he scores 19 or more, and they are 12-1 when he scores at least 18. What was the one loss at Utah? That Utah game, the night of the trade. Brutal. But the Warriors do win when Buddy gets buckets. Second straight double-double, 8th of the season for Steph, 21 and 10. And Steph had, 9 of the 10 assists, I think, in the first half. Like, he was just dominating the game in the first half. Yeah, 11 and 9 in the first half for Steph Curry, plus 17, just controlling the game like a point. I mean, just getting his buckets, but just setting people up. I mean, it was kind of the quintessential just point guard game. I mean, you don't think of Steph always as a point guard, even though he has been the point guard for a decade and a half here for the Warriors, but he just controlled, especially in the first half of the game. Podziemski, second double-double of the season, 19 and 11, and he tied season highs on three-pointers made with the 4 3-pointers that Podziemski made. Jimmy Butler back in the lineup, and he had 13 points, made all 6 of his free throw attempts. Good news on the Gary Payton. The second front left the game with the nose injury, but it was a cut, more than something like a broken nose. So the bleeding was more because it was a cut. That's definitely a good news type of a situation. We'll see further evaluation tomorrow, but good news on that front that it's so we may not see the GP2 mask tomorrow, Kyle, which I think is certainly a good thing. So we have some new production. That'll do it for our fun with numbers here tonight on Dubs OT. Our final wave of Kyle's clicks. So Kyle, I want you to set this up. We have some new production in play here. We've been building this thing on the fly all year. Let the people know what we've got here. Kyle's clicks has become a thing, so we needed to kind of make sure we had a little intro for it.
Yeah, no, it was something that just grew naturally, but I think when our voice guy recorded himself introducing the billboard, he said kicks, not clicks. So anyway, here.
So we got to get it redone. Is that what you're saying?
We do. We'll still play it.
Maybe we'll just do Kyle's kicks, and you'll just pick some shoes that you like.
Yeah, I'll like show my shoes. I don't know.
We'll just show off your shoe collection.
Oh, it's nothing special.
Yeah, Kyle hit me earlier.
Disappointedly.
Like, yeah, man, we got the production. We got the production for Kyle's clicks, and then I was like, "This is awesome. Let's roll it out." And then Kyle got in the studio, and he's like, "Oh, the voice guy." Sounds like the voice guy bleeped up, and then we got to get it recut.
Oh, also,
so let's play what we got.
Also, stay tuned for at the very end of the show. We'll share our Dubs OT comment of the night. So something new we're trying out as well.
Okay, so and we have production for that also.
That one is good. No effort.
So we have two separate. I need to like make a note. So we have two separate little intro things.
Two separate ones. Very quick.
All right. Well, let's hear the one first that the voice guy effed up with the.
No, he said something else. I said something back. He said something back. I said something back.
Now, Dubs OT presents Kyle's Kicks.
Kyle's Kicks. What are you wearing? Some J's? So you wearing like the vintage, like 1997 J's?
I'm wearing Allbirds. Have you heard about Allbirds?
Oh yeah, I got a pair of Allbirds.
Oh, super comfy. They're definitely my work shoes.
Yeah, I've got a pair of Allbirds. No doubt. Yeah, that's absolutely definitely comfy. So all right, Kyle's clicks. We'll get that recut, or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just do Kyle's kicks, and he'll show off his maybe some Jordans one night, maybe some Kobe's the next night. We'll see. All right, let's get back to the YouTube chat here with the best of the best. KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM San Francisco, a Cumulus media station here as we get to the 9 o'clock hour. Uncle Looney, Pods is like Purdy. He's not going to be the reason you win, but is good at his price. Wow. 49er fans are not going to like that. Niner fans are not going to like that. Pods is like Purdy? Ooh, I don't know. I think there might have been a few Warrior fans that drove off the road with that one. Enrique Rivera, do I have expectations for the Dubs in the playoffs? Nope. Do I have an open mind about the Dubs in the playoffs? Nope. What do you... you got to have an open mind. I thought that was setting up to be the perfect answer. Expectations? Honestly, get into a series. And let's have some fun. That would be what. Let's get one series let's just get one series where the Warriors are kind of the underdog and see how it shakes out. But yeah, I think they're going to get it as long as they stay healthy. What else we got? JD, the Warriors just won 8 and 2 in the last 10. Would you ever think they could do that? That from Jay Tan. Yeah, I would have thought they could have done that with Jimmy Butler. They weren't going to do that with the team that they had. Again, if Jimmy Butler hadn't played tonight at all, they might have lost tonight. Like they might have lost tonight. Like that, I'm not going to go as far as to guarantee it, but that game was hanging enough in the balance to where if they had to play the non-Steph minutes up 3 and Jimmy Butler wasn't on the court to stabilize things, whew. I mean, Would you ever think they could do that? No, with Jimmy Butler, I'll use, like Enrique said, I was open-minded as to what they could do. Ray Barrios, barometer game tomorrow, playing a good team for a change. Yeah, I hope everybody plays. I don't give as much a damn about the back-to-back. I just hope everybody plays. Like we can, if we need to grade it on a curve because it's the second of a back-to-back, so be it. But yes, I love games at Madison Square Garden. That is a marquee game on the NBA schedule for tomorrow on TNT. I hope Steph and Jimmy and Draymond and everybody plays. It doesn't sound like Kuminga is going to be part of that, but that would be awesome. And yes, if they all play, it's a barometer game. So I'm fingers crossed, Kyle, that everybody plays tomorrow because we got 2 hours talking about a barometer game. San Jose Jazz fan 4, JD boots on the ground at MSG. I wish. It was close. It was close. I'll say this. If they hadn't played in Charlotte tonight, I'd have been there. But the back-to-back, and it's like, well, if you go to New York, you gotta kind of go to Charlotte. And otherwise it would have been like red-eye JD tonight. We got some big things planned. But yeah, this one didn't quite make the cut. And I'm bummed because I've actually never covered a game at MSG. There's like 8 arenas that I haven't been to, and all 5 of them are on this trip, oddly enough. Like, kind of interesting. Robert Brown, Hornets got to be one of the worst franchises in North American sports. Fact. That's no short and sweet. Erwin Kwong, LaMelo learned LeBron's patented 3.5 step drives to the basket. Yes, he did. To be sure. All right, Kyle, what else? Gene, Kuminga will be an extra scorer teams have to pay attention to. Yeah, no doubt. As long as it's in the context of everything that the Warriors are doing, I think, look, if he doesn't try to do too much, he's going to fit in just fine, and he's going to help this team.
Oh, sorry. So for this upcoming comment, I hope this doesn't create a divide between us.
Uh-oh. Ooh, Suds Buds. Whose jumper is nicer, JD's or Kyle's? I mean, I'm gonna say mine. I am gonna say mine. Although
I'm gonna say mine
because I am a little. I don't have a true jumper. I'm not gonna lie. I have more of a set. I have more of a set shot. Like I don't get off the ground very high. So if Kyle has a true jumper, like it might be like I've got a little bit more of a set shot than a true jumper.
My jumper, it feels nice coming off the fingertips, but then when I see a recorded video myself, I'm like, oh, that's what my jumper looks like. So maybe I'll give it to you.
As long as it feels good coming off the hand. As long as it feels good coming off the hand, you are all good. You are all good, my man. All right. So is that it for that, or do we have our comment of the night now?
Comment of the night now.
All right. So our comment of the night, we're going to close out the show with that every night before we thank everybody. And again, back to back, we're doing a little overtime. Now, this is like going to overtime past 9:00, going to overtime on the set. Am I going to have enough in the tank for tomorrow? I think Greg Silver may join us tomorrow here on Dubs OT as well. So looking forward to that. But our comment of the night, without further ado.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
EB here. Some clown on the Nets will go for 40 just because it's the Warriors. That's like a comment for like Thursday night or Wednesday night. Cam Thomas going for 40 against the Warriors. Did they play tonight? I didn't even look. I was looking at some of the other scores. I didn't look at whether or not they played tonight, but
it would be Dennis Schroeder if he was on the Nets.
Yeah, he's on the Pistons. What did Dennis Schroeder have tonight? Dennis Schroeder, 7 tonight for Dennis Schroeder. back at Utah, where he used to his old stomping grounds in Utah, where he played for the Jazz for like a second. No Brooklyn tonight. Brooklyn plays at San Antonio tomorrow. So yeah, we'll see what the Nets come up with. I'm trying to look at Brooklyn was down early in their last game. I thought it was yesterday, but I guess it was it Saturday? I guess it was Saturday. They were down big at Detroit quickly. Who would be who would it be? Most likely to go for 40. Cam Thomas not even playing.
Is Cam Johnson? Is he injured?
My God. My
not
guy
some
Cam
random.
Did you see my guy Cam Johnson on Saturday? Did you see his line on Saturday?
Uh-oh. Good or bad?
He was 3 for 20. 0 for 10 from 3. Yikes. That was like his 3-point contest at Chase Center, Kyle. Where he couldn't make a bucket. Yeah, that's a rough one for our buddy Cam Johnson. But yeah, you never know. The Nets have tried to trade away the players that would be most apt to be able to do that against the Warriors. But point taken, the Nets did, because Dennis Schroeder beat the Warriors back in November. One of the many bad losses that the Warriors have this season. So that is our comment of the night. Big thanks to everybody in the YouTube chat. Big thanks to Kyle Haar, Jacob Violante doing some things in our San Francisco studios. Anybody else to thank, Kyle, tonight?
Just a 2-man show.
Just Kyle Haar and Jacob Violante. So we appreciate them both. Appreciate everybody on YouTube and Twitch, all of our regulars here, a spirited back and forth in the chat tonight, and more than 2 hours in the books here for Dubs OT with JD, and I'm playing tomorrow, second of a back-to-back. So that we can say. Kyle, you good? You gonna ice him up and be able to play?
Yeah, I am. I might wake up a little sore.
Yeah, might wake up a little sore, but you're gonna play through it nevertheless. So
yeah, of
Kyle
course.
And Jacob and everybody in the chat, our callers and texters, we'll talk to you tomorrow right at 7:00 after the Warriors take on the Knicks, Hornets, and the Dubs. Tonight, it goes the Warriors' way, 119-101. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Shot clock at 8. Buddy Hield out of the corner. High arcing 3. Buddy's 3 has made it on the road trip. Buddy buckets his back. 4 of 8 on threes now. Buddy Hield thought about clock. He got LaMelo to reach, laid it up and in, and the continuation. Bro, he hit him with the hezzy. He froze LaMelo ball. Sub-zero. Emirates Cup or bust.
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you get started off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big fat dub.
Ain't nobody going to stop me. I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
But great win.
Who are these guys?
I love you, JD. Bye, sugar.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
Jimmy freaking Butler puts it in.
Everything's gonna be all right.